All right, welcome back to Prep Sports Junkies here at StateChampsNetwork.com. We've taken a seat. We're going to kind of get into some real hot button topic, a real hot button issue. I'm Scott Bernstein along with the big fella Jeff Dulek. We're here every week breaking down the most pressing issues on the statewide prep sports landscape. Today we're going to talk about the transfer issue. I use the term issue with quotes around it because it's more than an issue. It's a full-fledged epidemic right now. There's been some of the media outlets that have touched on it in recent weeks. So Jeff and I are going to chime in with our 2 cents. Just to start off, it's kind of stating the obvious. The transfer problem in MHSA has gotten completely out of hand. It's all out and out free agency right now. If you just look at the state champs preseason rankings of our players, out of our top 10, we had 5 or 6 guys that have been at least on their second school. And if you broke it down into our watch list, which took the top 15 kids we were looking at, it's like 7 or 8.
Right, yeah.
So it's basically half of the best kids that we have, that we project here at State Champs as the best players in the state of Michigan. At least half of them, or almost half of them, are on at least their second school.
Yeah.
Some kids are on their third school. Arguably the number 1 player in the state, Dalen Hayes, who I'm a huge fan of in terms of what he's going to do on the football, he's on his 4th school.
Right.
So it's Jeff, what do we do? What's the result here? What's the remedy?
I'm not sure that there is. I think there needs to be something to, and I know it's been attempted with all of these changes that the MHSA has made, but something has to be done to make sure that these are academically driven transfers. And I just have.
And they're not. None of them are. None of them are.
There might be 1%, if that are truly academically driven, because that's what goes into being a student athlete. And I think sometimes that's lost when it comes to coaching, or not necessarily coaching, but with players and parents and their what they have their sights set on, beyond.
So, go ahead.
What their sights are set on beyond high school. They're hoping that they get an offer from this school, or they have a chance to go to a high-level football, basketball school that'll set them up to be a professional athlete, when in the grand scheme of things, that's really not even a possibility.
Yeah, it's less than 1%.
Right.
And piggybacking off of what Jeff said a couple seconds ago, the MHSA has tried, in my opinion, really in vain, just futile effort after futile effort to try to fix this issue, or at least get a finger in the dike, or some type of ability to create a dam that would prevent this just waterfall explosion of transfers. The most recent thing is this links rule that they put in. They announced it, I think, about a year and a half ago. It came into in effect, I believe, in 2015. And frankly, there's more holes in this rule than the Titanic. There's a million different ways to circumvent this rule. And I believe that the MHSA, when called out about all these loopholes, they agree there are a ton of loopholes, and that they can't monitor it.
Yeah.
And I have nothing but respect for Jack Roberts and JJ and Nate Hampton over at the MHSA, but I really think they need to make this more of a priority. So, and as we're trying to identify and analyze this issue, the transfer epidemic, what are some of the root causes? And Jeff and I have kind of identified, in our opinions, one of the things that has really exacerbated this situation is the emergence of 7-on-7s.
You have kids playing, the 7-on-7s and the AAU basketball teams.
With a darker side, just in the sense that it brings some of that negative AAU basketball mentality into football.
Yeah, right. And these players either want to go and play for these coaches that they see during these 7-on-7s, or they want to go and play with these teammates that they have there. They develop these friendships and relationships, and they want to move these onto the high school level. People lose sight of just how enjoyable the high school atmosphere can be, and playing with your friends, playing high school sports with your friends that you grew up with, and kind of continuing that tradition that really has gone on for years and years up until this transfer epidemic's hit.
There's too much stuff out there right now for parents and for kids. Too much information out there for them to take in, and then so much of it is out of context. Mm-hmm. So you have a parent that really has no perspective, and they go online, and if their kids even remotely someone that's bound for college athletics, you're going to find stuff written about them. It's not like back in the day where only the top kids get written about. So if you're a marginal kid right now, you're going to be able to find stuff written about you, and then you have parents that really start to buy into this hype.
I think that comes, like what you said, there's a lot that's being written. You know, you and I have both had blogs in the past. Bernie's Bites is now over at statechampsnetwork.com, and parents see these things, and they sit there and see somebody say that he had a great game or is a great player and should get more touches, and that immediately tells them to go and talk to the coach or expect more of a coach. Even when a team might be doing well, and when a team isn't doing well, it pushes them even more to do something about it when nothing is really needs to be done.
But I know 2 specific incidents where heading into week 1 and then right after week 1, certain kids on relatively high-profile programs that were upset with either what happened in their position race leading into the season or what happened on the field that first week had reached out to other programs and you know, or their parents reached out to other programs and asked, you know, can we bring our kid over there right now? And if we bring our kid over right now, can he play immediately? It's gotten so out of hand with this free agency mentality that there needs to be some checks and balances, and I plead for the MHSA to get more hands-on on this.
That's exactly like what you said, and it's become free agency. It hasn't even become a team. It hasn't become you know, a college atmosphere. It's become something to the extent of a professional atmosphere where I'm not happy here. I'm going to move on to this place. And when in the grand scheme of things, you should still stay put at your school because the main focus is getting a high school education to prepare yourself for college, which prepares yourself for the rest of the future, which in very rare cases does that involve any type of sports.
Yeah, and I don't like the MHSA's approach when they're saying, well, we need someone to report it, or we need the school, or before it was the school that the kid left at needed to report it. Now just someone needs to. Why does it need to be reported? If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it smells like a duck, it's a duck.
Right.
So certain things are being reported in the newspaper, and the MHSA is reading the Free Press or the news or statechampsnetwork.com, and something looks fishy. They should be able to investigate it.
They should be able to, but my question as far as that's concerned has to do with maybe funding, being able to invest, you know, the proper money to give both sides a fair. It's just become such
a problem right now. They need to get their arms around this thing quick. If I had to give my 2 cents in terms of what the solution is, they got to put in a rule. If Bernie was the head of the MHSA, next year there'd be a rule: any transfer is a straight year sit. So if you're coming in, if you plan to transfer, you better go out there as a sophomore so you can have your senior year. Because you know, if you leave as a sophomore, you ain't playing till a senior. If you leave as a junior, you've just given up your senior year. Those are the kind of penalties or you know, side effects that I think are the only thing that could really stem this tide, which is just at full-blown epidemic proportions now.
Yeah, it seems like that's something that might be a little excessive, but that may be
you need to be excessive. You need, you know, extreme circumstances call for extreme measures. Right. I'm Scott Bernstein. This is the big fella Jeff Dulac. That's our 2 cents on the transfer issue. We'll be back next week at statechampsnetwork.com for more Prep Sports Junkies. We'll see you then.